Today I'm going to make Creole Ramen Phó. I have this at least once a week. And the thing about pho is that you have to perfect that, the stock, the liquid. The vegetables don't really matter what you put in. As a matter of fact, these vegetables, which I'm going to put in today, are not the vegetables I would ordinarily choose to use for pho. The one that I usually like is the bok choy. I like mung bean sprouts. I like a lot of fresh basil. And sometimes I'll put spinach in there, but I don't have any of that. So today I'm going to use some of the zucchini, the yellow squash, some fresh broccoli, carrot, and part of my seasoning, I'm going to stick 1 bay leaf in there as well. This just happens to be the only fresh vegetables that I have. I'm not going to use the whole zucchini and the whole squash. I'm going to use, what I'm going to do today is just make 1 serving. And then in the description below, by the end of the day, today or tomorrow, I'll actually write in the exact ingredients that I used today, the amounts, and a description of how I made it. This is the ramen that I use. It's a millet and brown rice ramen. I get this from Thrive Market. And then one little cake thing, I just use 1. And this is really, really nice. So what I have left now are the seasonings. I have Italian seasoning, very, very important in this dish. Cayenne pepper, that's optional. It depends on if you like extra cayenne, because the Tony Chachere's does have cayenne in it. And I do use my Tony Chachere's Lite, which is lower sodium. And then basil, don't forget the basil. That is the star of the show. Typically, I like to have fresh basil as well, but this is all I have today. I have some rice vinegar, soy sauce. Pick the soy sauce you like. Soy sauce, they're not all alike. It just depends on the kind that you like. I like this lower sodium, this particular brand. It puts a very good flavor in my food. And then I have 3 more pieces of, 3 more ingredients here. Some smoked paprika, some granulated onion, and I have poultry seasoning. And so I'll put the exact amounts that I use, but these are all of the ingredients for my Creole Ramen Phó. Let's get started. I forgot to include my onion over there a little while ago, but here is how I will cut up my onion. I'm going to use just a piece of this 1/4 of an onion, and then once it gets in the skillet, you see how it'll break apart like that? This is exactly how I want my onion to fall apart once I begin dry sauteing. Onion is really the only thing I use at this point to dry saute. If I could tolerate celery, that would be really great to put in the skillet or the wok right now. Alright, I'm dry sauteing my onion, and again, if you can tolerate celery, that would be a good time to put the celery in as well. With dry sauteing, I don't saute with oil at all. I use water sauteing and broth sauteing usually. But I start off with dry sauteing the onion. That gives it a little char flavor, kind of releases the flavor of the onion. So I'll let that saute for a little while stirring very, very regularly, and I'll be right back. Okay. You can see how the onion is turning sort of brown. That's what it's supposed to do. There's no liquid in here at all. Not yet. Alright. So the dry sauteing is complete. Now I'm going to put about a cup of water in here, and then that's when I'm going to add in my seasoning before I put in the rest of the water for the broth. Alright. That's what it's supposed to look like when I add the water. And then I'm going to turn this fire down and add the rest of, go on and add in my seasonings. Alright, I have all of my seasonings in. And another thing that I forgot to add earlier is my Better Than Bouillon. For a single dish like this, I use about 1/4 of a teaspoon to add to my broth. And then I'm going to go on and add my vegetables in. Actually, before adding the vegetables, I did add in my other 3 cups of water. So I'm going to have a total of 4 cups of water for a single serving of pho. And then I put in all my seasonings, as you can see, and I'm going to bring that to a slight boil, then turn it down to a simmer while I get my vegetables prepared. What you see floating on top is the basil and some Italian seasonings. I use a lot of basil and more Italian seasonings than my other seasonings as well. So I'll let that cook, do its thing, and I'll chop up the vegetables. Be right back. Alright, I've added in the first half of my vegetables. I always add the vegetables in according to how long it takes them to cook. So my broccoli and my carrots go in first. I'll let that cook for about maybe 5 or 6 minutes. Then I will add in my zucchini and my yellow squash. Alright, I've added in my zucchini and yellow squash. Let that cook probably just about 2 minutes before I add in the ramen. And I did add in another cup of water, so it's going to be a total of 5 cups of water for this dish. But yeah, it's all mine. This is not to share with anybody else. I'll be right back. Alright, this is the way the ramen looks coming out of the packet. Now remember, like I said, this is considered 2 servings, but I'm going to eat the whole thing. I push that all the way down, don't burn my fingers. And then I'm just going to leave that in there for about maybe 3 minutes. And then I'll flip it over, and that's when it's going to pull apart. And you'll see that in just a minute. My lunch is almost done. Alright, now I'm going to take and I'm going to flip it over. Just like that. Push that back down. See, it's already starting to loosen a little bit. You see that? Push that back down. And let that do what it needs to for about another 2 or 3 minutes. Alright, I've broken the ramen up, and now it's moved all over the wok. You'll know when the ramen is completely done if you get a fork and pick up a little bit and kind of taste it. If it tastes the way that you want it to feel in your mouth, then it is finished. Some people like it a little bit mushier. I like mine not quite so mushy. But you can just pick up a fork and, usually takes anywhere from about 3 to 6 minutes from this particular point to when it is done. So let me get this in a bowl. Alright, here is my Creole Ramen Phó. That looks outstanding, and I tasted the broth and it is delicious. And remember, before you begin to eat, see this little thing right here? That's the bay leaf. That has to come out. And now I am ready for lunch. Enjoy.